Hello, everyone. Just returning from the hectic holidays, which for me stretches out into early January for MagFest, the music and gaming festival at National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland. It's a great place to be, always a good time. And I just got back yesterday, and you know, I just wanted to share an interesting experience that I had there. Because you see, at MagFest, it's a 24/7 convention, and there's always stuff to do. They do a fantastic job of just jam packing as much things as they can into a convention center. So there's never a second where you're ever really bored. And one of the many things they have to do that I love to go check out is they have a room or event area. It varies year to year, but there's always a location where they host an event called the Soapbox, which it provides people an opportunity to get up on their soapbox and say a thing or two that's on their mind. People are given 7 minutes to talk on stage, and it's pretty much just like an open mic thing. And the rules are pretty loose about what you can talk about, as long as you're not, being hateful or bigoted. You can go in whatever direction you want. You can get as weird as you want, as horny as you want, as deep and personal as you want. I've seen the full gambit, and of course, I love it very much, and I like to do uh, fun little things there that I think will be entertaining for people to see. There's certainly some older videos on my channel of me doing it in the past, but in recent years, they've stopped allowing recording, which I think I like that, because it's kind of makes it this more like ephemeral, fleeting moment of art. But that's beside the point. What I do want to really get into and talk about is one particular soapbox that I saw somebody do Sunday morning. I'm ambling into the hotel, tired, a little hungover, and the first thing I want to do is just sit in the soapbox and drink my morning Red Bull and kind of wake up a little bit. And so I go and I catch a few sets, and one point that this man made in his presentation that really resonated with me, and I don't think it's like anything like huge and revelatory like that, but I do think that it's something to be mindful of as we go throughout day-to-day life, is that people in general, everywhere, have far much more common than you would think, right? Um, and so much of our time is taken up by uh, people who, uh, for their own personal gain, higher powers that operate in the world, who stand to benefit from pitting people against each other and making them disagree. Um, when the reality is, at the end of the day, you know, you have so much in common with your fellow working man, and have similar goals and dreams and hopes and aspirations as humans on this planet, and that we really shouldn't let that interfere with how we interact with people and how we view them, and just to be kind of mindful of that fact that any so-called enemies you might perceive in your life are in reality the creation of somebody else that's trying to pit you against them. And the person doing this, they mentioned to just look around at MagFest, at where we were, how everyone there has so much in common, and how everyone there is, um, existing in this moment, this weekend, where, um, the environment is just accepting, it's loving, it's wanting everyone to just have a good time and enjoy themselves. And I was thinking about that, and it's Sunday, so the convention ends on Sunday and it wraps up, and people, are going home. Myself and my group of friends left around 3:30, and so it's in Maryland. I drove back home down south, and I had a bit of a drive ahead of me. So I'm driving and I'm thinking about this, and I eventually it comes. I need to make a pit stop and use the restroom, and I'm in this welcome center, and I go up to the urinal, and I'm taking a leak, and I'm thinking about what this guy said some more, and I'm like, yeah, it's true. And even here in this environment, it's one thing to be at a convention where at face value, you share this thing in common with someone. You're experiencing this weekend convention with another person. So presumably you have overlapping hobbies and interests, and it's a lot kind of easier to see them as a comrade. But here I am in this rest stop for the first time, in like 4 or 5 days. I'm pissing in this public restroom, and I'm standing next to someone that doesn't share this direct connection with me, right? So it's, you're at the convention, you're standing next to someone, and you at least have that commonality. And now here, I'm removed from this shared experience, standing next to someone without that initial commonality. And I realized that, like, my framing of this person in this different space was in fact automatically different, right? I didn't see, in both places I'm taking a leak next to a stranger. But in this space, removed from the convention, in my mind, this is a stranger removed to another degree. And I realized that, that's not necessarily even fair, right? Because we are still sharing a similar lived experience that is navigating life on this planet, right? And I thought about that, and, it kind of moved me a little bit, I'm standing there urinating in this urinal next to this person I've never seen before in my life and will probably never see again. And, I thought to say something to him like, hey, and I pretty much kind of explained what I just explained to you all, or, up to this point. And, I look at them like, hey, I don't know you, you don't know me, but we really, we have so much more in common, than we might think. You're my comrade, and I love you for that. And, he nodded his head for a moment, and he said, yeah, you know what? I think you're onto something. We're comrades in arms. Comrades at the urinals pissing. And I'm like, hell yeah, absolutely. And he's like, hell yeah, absolutely. You're completely and totally right. And, it's at that moment, I don't know who suggested it first, but as comrades in arms, we grabbed each other's cocks and pissed for each other. We, aiming in the urinal. And, that was just a really powerful moment of solidarity, for myself. And I urge all of you, viewing this at home to give it a try. So, yeah, that's my soapbox for this week's Steinfeld. Thanks, guys.